I want to start with your feedback in terms of political anxiety bringing a lot of noise to the fixed income conversation in the Gulf. I mean, how much are you reading into the latest developments? Could we be looking at more downgrades and more uncertainty?
So it's a good question, and I think as someone that's been in this market for a very long time, if you just give me a couple of seconds, because we need to kind of differentiate between what's happening domestically with some of the other geopolitical issues. In my mind, what is happening domestically, whether it's the corruption purge or whether it's the structural reform agenda, opening up Aramco IPO, a more moderate Islam, women driving, all of these in my mind are unambiguously positive. What I find a little bit surprising is that people want to see significant change in Saudi, yet they get a little bit surprised when those change happen. So I would classify most of what's been happening there as something that's going to be very constructive, very positive longer term.
Yeah.
Now, clearly it carries some risk in the short term, because you need to, while you're doing all of that, you need to shore up domestic demand. So people will be looking at the due process, will be looking at the rule of law and things like that. But I think fundamentally, it's very good news what's happening.
So what is this going to do to issuances, sukuks and conventional bonds? I mean, it was a fairly strong start to the year. So is that momentum going to continue given what we had over the summer?
Absolutely, and this is the real story around GCC bonds. So if you go back to it, if you have power that's being consolidated, it's going to give, and you continue to move through this pace of reform, it's going to give a lot of credibility to their fiscal sustainability, to their longer-term plans, and I think it's going to really anchor and help performance going forward. And Saudi Arabia is a very significant issuer. It's 50% of the region. And so these developments, I feel the market will reward them with. And, we are monitoring the situation. We think some of the other issues are very important because, everything is a question of scale. But fundamentally, these bond markets are reacting very positive to the reform agenda that's unfolding. The geopolitical issues is where the anxiety is, and I think on that it's a little bit early to judge, and you can get a sense that the Saudis are almost screaming that they want the international community to help bargain or come up with some grand bargain on Iran and the confrontation with Hezbollah and others. So perhaps that does happen. Yeah. I'm of the view that the domestic issues are extremely positive. The external ones are looking a little fragile, but I'm still hopeful that we get a resolution.